is gonna be a good podcast.
It's gonna be great. And don't get into the fight with the water bottle, alright, Pedro? Did nothing to you.
No, I was opening my 2-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids.
Oh my god.
I love those. Specifically the 2-pound bags.
I'm a fan of the gummies, just not so much like the sourness of it. I'm weird about that stuff.
Well, they aren't called Patch Kids, Matt.
Well, if they made Patch Kids, I'd be a hardcore consumer.
More like estrogen Patch Kids, am I right?
Oh,
There we go.
because he's a girl, and that means he's weak.
There you go. Let's see. So I guess I'll start off then,
All right.
because I feel like I want to get this out of the way. So Joe's kind of a dick. I'm just gonna be
YouTube
upfront.
drama.
YouTube drama. So for people who aren't like watching, don't pay close attention to the YouTube drama sphere.
And who does these days?
I made a video like a week and a half ago called "Success and Mediocrity," where I basically
March 10th. D-Day.
March 10th. Manime Matt makes a video called "Success and Mediocrity," where I talk shit about Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody. I bring up the fact that it's really generic and it's not very original, and I just kind of talk about how it revels in that fact. And I think I made a pretty decent argument for it. I didn't fucking put a ton of work in this video. And Pause and Select, for those of you who don't know, is another YouTube channel. It's basically the exact same size as me, who specializes in like super high quality content. Like his stuff is fantastic.
He's probably the most like widely loved channel on AniTuber. Not widely loved, but like deeply loved.
Yeah.
In terms of just the quality of his output.
Left a comment basically that was this long-winded like argument over how like I'm completely wrong and all this other stuff. And I just want to like bring up the fact I know his name is Joe, that he's such a dick for doing this. Like legit, this is. I think there's like a secret kind of, not secret, I feel like it should be pretty obvious, like thing around in the community that you kind of don't go around doing things like this where you.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
I'll lay it out here. I'm going to be extremely biased because I'm die fond of Joe just as a person generally. And I guess, from my past history, I'm not afraid to mix it up in terms of getting pretty spicy too. But I don't agree to a code of conduct where you sort of refrain from publicly discussing stuff you don't like, just for a sense of politeness.
Well, here's my retort to that though, is okay. So a while back, something like this happened to me earlier with Duo reviews. Duo made a comment that was kind of like, some stupid shit. Not stupid, but he did that. But here's the thing. Duo and I knew each other. Like, I understood where he was coming from and what kind of joke he was making. So it was like, oh, okay. And then we just kind of explained it in the comments. And then we talked about it afterwards. Like, hey, if you ever, want to say something like that again, just DM me. Don't, actually, put it publicly out there. Because we're both... At the time, we're both not big channels, but we're okay size. We're not super small. And the problem with this comment is that I don't fucking know Joe. I have never said a word to him, and he has never said a word to me. I didn't even know he watched my videos. So by doing this, what he's doing is creating a separation in our communities. He's trying to, he's not trying. I don't think he did this on purpose. But by doing this, he subconsciously made our concurrent viewers, which we clearly, I'm willing to say, we have a lot of, because we're both in the same kind of sphere. We're pick a side. Manime has 3 options here. I can delete the comment, which will cause drama by itself. I can respond with an argument, which will cause drama. Or I can try to de-escalate the situation as fast as possible, which is what I did, which I think is the best course of action. But it's kind of this thing of it still makes me look stupid because I can't properly argue against him in my comment section, because if I do, I'm going to create drama, and I don't want fucking drama.
No, that's fair. I just don't think, okay, you don't know him personally. So, there your general commenters, most of them you don't know personally, right? So he's someone who watched the video, had a set of extended thoughts about the video in reaction to it, and commented. That's like a typical commenter. The thing unlike a typical commenter, of course, is that he is himself an AniTuber and has visibility and a following himself within the community. I don't necessarily agree that there needs to be like sides picked between your two channels. There needs to be perhaps sides picked on this singular argument, but if he thinks this single video's argument is unconvincing or poorly constructed or what have you, I don't think that necessarily has to sort of be a reflection of your channel as a whole, even if it will color some people's perceptions as such. I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This could have all been avoided if you just DM'd me.
I just don't like quite see the compulsion to avoiding it, or the reason why that should be.
The exact thing I just listed was the reason.
Just optics?
I don't go. Yeah, exactly. I don't go to fucking episode review channels and like criticize them in their comments section, because what is that accomplishing other than making me look like a dick, and then also making them bad. I might like criticize someone I watch in the comment section. I'm not just gonna go on to random episode reviews, or if I like see a video in my recommended and am interested by it and watch it, which would probably be the more likely case for Pulse and Select, because I know he doesn't follow AniTube too closely. Like if I end up watching a video just through the course of me watching videos and I have thoughts on it, I'd put those in the comment section probably. That's just like what you like, that's how YouTube viewing works a lot of the time. And I don't think avoiding that on the basis that he's a channel and it might look bad, I don't think there's like an obligation or necessarily even a good enough reason to do that. That's where I think we fundamentally disagree, because I mean, understand if it looks bad for him, he's indifferent to it, I guess. But the fact that he just brought me into this without any warning, and I don't like it, clearly, is another.
But he's just a commenter.
No, he's not. That's the catch. It's easy to say that.
Okay, so I guess the fundamental like philosophical question here is: are like AniTubers of a sufficient following obligated to stop performing like commenters? And do things differently, not conduct themselves in that manner anymore. And obviously I would fall on the side that no, they don't have that obligation.
Yeah, and I'm the other way around. I think they do have that obligation. And if you do want to like be a legit commenter, you would have like a side channel that would be like, people don't know.
No, but then you get accused of making a sock puppet account. Manime, don't do that. Don't, whatever you do, trust me, I know. You get hounded and harassed for using a sock puppet to criticize people. And, like, it's worse. It looks so much worse. Don't do it. I promise. I've been through that. You don't want that.
And just in case he gets linked this, I do want to say, I'm not holding anything grudges against him. I think in the end, he has a good argument. I still disagree with him. He hasn't convinced me fully. He was drunk when we had the debate in Discord.
Yeah, also it should be noted that that entire comment was framed both on YouTube and on Twitter with I will probably regret this in the morning because I am drunk as hell.
I don't hold this against Joe at all. This is just kind of something I'm saying for public's sake, because I didn't say anything when Duo did it. This is one of those things for me. My opinion of it is that it's something I feel like you shouldn't do, because in the end, my main thing is I like the community to be together and working together and being like helpful to each other. And this is like
I don't like sort of obscuring or policing your opinions on things purely in the interest of sort of creating the minimum controversy possible.
That's where we disagree.
Well, I'm going to agree with Pedro here, because...
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, for the first time ever, since our Blood Feast.
Finally! It's bound to happen.
Because I feel like if you're going to be a public figure, which is what YouTubers are, and you're going to be in this kind of weird pseudo-academic arena, which is what AniTube is, Anybody who presents their ideas in this public sphere is opening themselves up to criticism. And the people who are most qualified to give that criticism are the other people who are engaging in the same kind of work that you are, which is this anime pseudo-scholarship that we're all doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you view YouTube as a means of, like, infotainment, then Joe, as an infotainer, is the exact kind of person who you want commenting publicly on your videos. Because it's... The way I view it is I see YouTube, or AniTube in particular, as a new kind of academic journal in that vein. So when you present your ideas publicly, obviously you're opening yourself up to criticism, like I said. And people, viewers, commenters, have a right to see criticism from people who know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So
I do want to
yeah.
stress. I'm not against the criticism. Like I love comments like this. I think comments like these are fantastic. It's just, once again, my whole perspective is from who it's from. So continue.
Yeah, and I think, like, in most fields, if we want to be so presumptuous as to call AniTube a field,
It's our
like,
job.
interpersonality criticism, public interpersonality criticism is a thing, certainly in academia, right? There's a substantive part of it is the refutation and offering of thoughts on various other academics' thoughts, but even if we don't want to be so presumptuous there, I mean, something like news media, CNN's going to call out Fox News on their bullshit. Fox News is going to call out MSNBC on what they perceive to be their bullshit. I mean, for most given fields that involve this sort of performativity for or presentation of information to an audience by personalities, it's par for the course to comment upon those other personalities' thoughts and work when you have those things to comment on about them.
Yeah, I think I view this field more as a cooperative field instead of competitive. That's my purpose.
I don't think it's necessarily competitive to, like, offer critique. Like, I don't think you're like, it has to be done to start to, like, put yourself ahead.
It's not competitive to put for critique. It's the whole point of, once again, causing this accidental divide. I don't, like I said, I think I doubt he's like has this crazy plan, but it does divide people.
Well, my question then becomes, if we view this in the way that I view this, which is to say it's an arena of ideas, if a person presents ideas that are not accurate or worthy of being respected, which I don't mean to say that Joe is attacking you in quite those terms, but if somebody presents ideas that somebody thinks are not quite, like, worthy of the arena, then what right does that person have to not be criticized in the way that you're talking about? Like,
criticized in a public sphere for such.
Yeah, criticized in the public sphere, sure.
Okay. Rephrase the question. I don't understand what you're asking. One more time.
Well, for example, I was the president of a secular organization at my university, and whenever we had creationists, flat earthers, any kind of woo on campus, we always protested, counter-protested, whatever they were doing. And that was because we thought that any idea that is putting itself out into an academic arena, like a university is, needs to be challenged, and publicly, because people have the right to see, oh, there are people who think that this idea is absolute nonsense that doesn't deserve to be respected.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I see your point. I guess it's the academic, the sphere of ideas. I'm trying to
Big win in the battle of ideas.
Like, it's such a weird question. I'm trying to think of
some people will
how
get that.
to actually respond to that.
Like, I understand that Joe isn't being quite as harsh on you as I'm implying here, but yeah,
well, you like ruminate on your response there, Matt, to sort of go off from what Bryant was saying there. There is a group of people who are upset with what they see as a misuse of the sort of power that anime YouTubers have, specifically through the spreading of false or poor information with their audiences. Now, whatever your like stance on the state of that and the responsibilities of creators to be dispensers of information, we do command an audience, and as such, we do inform at least some of their thoughts. So I think if, as an individual, if as a content creator, certainly, you see info that you believe is bad or off base being put out, it makes sense to see a compulsion there for you to go put out your counterpoint to combat that narrative, and go up to those people who would be perhaps receptive to this bad info, and argue your case instead, and sort of make the case for why they should not be believing this thing that you see as something that they shouldn't buy into.
Yeah,
and that's just where, like, for the purposes of critique, he could have DM'd you versus commenting, and it wouldn't have made a difference. You could argue that maybe, like, comment is going to cause, like, some tension or whatever, so don't do that. But if it's for the purpose of sort of combating this info that he sees as off base, and preventing it from taking hold in the minds of some people, or at least presenting the counterpoint so they can decide which one will take hold, that can only be made in the form of a public comment.
Okay, well, I guess so, but that's. I think I'm just in the overall disagreements of the fact that.
Do we have an obligation to avoid trying to combat bad or incorrect narratives?
Change my opinion through other things besides just a comment. You know?
Right, but you're not the one.
But, right, it's not your opinion he's trying to change. It's the
Yeah.
opinion of the impressionable audience consuming the content that is perceived to have some issues with it. Are we obligated to avoid trying to correct public misinformation if that misinformation comes from other personalities who we'd necessarily create a conflict with by taking that alternative stance to them?
Guess not, but it's just one of those things. I don't know. I'm still really insulted by it. I guess I feel like it's just disrespectful all over, just in general.
That's fair. You can be insulted by anything you want.
It is a pretty spicy comment. I will.
It's a very nice.
I'm sorry that I'm gleefully.
Well, it's the thing that gets me is that it's a spicy comment that was phrased in a way where I couldn't respond properly in the comment section back, out looking like an asshole.
Yeah.
And that's what I think in the end got me the most, is he phrased it in a way, and he put it in a way of, so if I just like did this long-winded fucking argument back at him, and let's say hypothetically, which wouldn't be the case, I crushed him, he would just say, "Oh, sorry, well I was drunk."
Yeah, the framing of as drunk made it real tough to.
And it's just kind of like, motherfucker. That's like
I relate to those tough to respond to in any way that doesn't make you a loser comments for sure. Those always suck.
But I think I'm still convinced of my point. At least me personally, I won't go on your videos and attack you guys. Attack you. He didn't attack me. He like I said, I love comments like this. I love comments that are like really
just if it was not coming from pause and select.
It's just coming from Pause and Select.
Public persona.
Pretty disrespectful at the same time. And then just being one of these comments where I can't like actually respond to it. Just all combined together to this like, I don't know. It just really feels like out of nowhere I kind of got fucked on a video that I feel, I'm still, like even after his comment, I'm still convinced I think my argument's correct and his is reaching. But that's just my personal opinion and his. And that's the end of it.
So now that you bring this up, I'm kind of curious. Just because I forget how long ago it was, but your power creep video in Shonen Anime, I had left a comment on that in response, and I was disagreeing with some of the stuff that you said. But like I didn't. Like, my comment didn't come attached with the, I was drunk or whatever, because I obviously wasn't. Um, and you didn't respond to that one, but just kind of, I don't know. I was just, is that something you like? With what you're saying here, is that something I should avoid doing? Like I should not.
No, I don't think that's the case, because I think your comment was just like, hey, I think you. What was? Let me look up your exact comment. But basically, it was like, to me, I found it to be like a respectful comment. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I expected that from you, and that was the end of it.
Joe's was a bit more combative.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, context matters comments. No.
Oh, Alexander also commented on this one. This one got yeah.
Which one?
The power creep. Mathwiz's comment is, I get what you're going for with One Punch Man, but that show has its own problems with power scaling. Saitama is too strong for there to be any real conflict if he's on the battlefield, so while the show can create conflict by keeping him away from the fight, see Deep Sea King, it more or less amounts to nothing when he inevitably shows up and punches the guy. Then there is the end of Season 1, where Saitama doesn't even defeat his opponent in one punch. The battle just sort of drags and tries to make up for it with comedy, and, in the anime specifically, Sakuga, which admittedly still works fairly well. That kind of takes away from the titular gimmick/joke that he is One Punch Man.
Oh yeah, well, my argument, I think, was that One Punch Man uses suspense as not as a tool most commonly. I think that was my actual argument in my video, though. Was that it abuses the idea of suspense because it subverting suspense.
Yeah, so oh, go on.
What you're saying for One Punch Man? Yeah, go ahead. You were.
Alexander's comment here is also relatively combative. I'd say perhaps even more so than Mathwiz's. Just to read the first sentence here. Excuse me. Hunter x Hunter definitely isn't perfect. The training chapters that you mentioned are one of my low points for the series. But I don't really buy into this. But I don't really buy this criticism for it. So he flat out says that your criticism of Hunter x Hunter is in his eyes off base.
How you spell his name? I'm looking his up right now.
Aleckzandxr. He's the top comment on the video.
Oh, okay.
500 upvotes or so.
Upvotes.
I don't think I took that comment too seriously because, no offense, I hope people don't think this way.
Oh no!
Is any comments defending Hunter x Hunter? I've just stopped reading. You know what's funny?
You're losing the war here. No, you're losing the audience.
Alex, I want you to know before you fucking never talk.
The supporters of your argument are dropping like flies.
This week's video I'm making is a video positively talking about Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, okay.
This time. I love the show. It's just I feel like
why Hunter x Hunter appeals to idiots so well.
No. I feel like the fan base is just so cultish that if I say anything negative about the show at any point, I'm gonna get attacked. And
I mean,
to be fair,
you're not entirely wrong. But then again, every fan base has a portion that'll be that way. I definitely do understand where you're coming from with Hunter x Hunter elitism because it's definitely out there.
Mm-hmm. No. I mean, I love Hunter x Hunter. Like I said, I say that in every video, but then I talk shit about it, so it doesn't make sense. But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I think he just talked shit about
why Hisoka is awesome and Minoram is shit.
So, I'm not surprised that one got so much hate, but still, I 100% believe that one. Hisoka's fantastic, and Miriam really is a shit antagonist. Whatever he is,
we will agree to disagree. I will not have a fist fight with you in the hallway.
Not another one.
No, getting back to what I was kind of getting at with this, the comment that I had left, just kind of looking at the replies to it, they're more so about the argument I had presented versus the argument you had presented, and I don't think it was much of an inter-channel debate or anything, or I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of missing the point of what you were saying before.
Yeah, I think what the point we're trying to get at is that you were like, hey, I think your opinion as a whole is different. How is it? You were just trying to you were making an argument for one of my arguments that you thought were wrong. Whereas I think, and you did it, like I said, in a pretty respectful way. Whereas his was just kind of pretty disrespectful, out of left field, because I knew you were gonna say something. and much more, I guess, rude, I guess would be the word trying to say. I'm not sure. It's just one of those things where it's.
Oh yeah, I mean, you did call your video "Wacky Bildungsroman criticism," so it was
well, that, and then also I know you, so like we do the podcast together. We talk a lot, so that's another added feature. I guess with Alexander X, like I said, he was just making an argument for Hunter x Hunter. Whenever that happens, it's like, sure. I'm not gonna even try to fight it, because if I make an argument, it's like, well, you just don't understand the intellectual depth of Gon as a character. Sorry, I'm shit talking Hunter x Hunter, and then I'm gonna make a fucking video talking all good about Hunter x Hunter this week, and people are gonna be so confused. Life is weird.
Life is strange, as they say when they hand out Game of the Year awards. Sometimes.
That was not Game of the Year.
It was like Indie Game of the Year or something.
It was not Game of the Year in any category.
It was, what did it win?
Awards was wrong.
It won something. It was like Games for Impact or Games for Change, whatever the award is.
I don't know. I liked it a lot, but like watching another friend play through it, that game is not very good.
I liked Life is Strange.
I liked it too.
It is the hipster lesbian game, so I am obligated to play through it. Eventually, I own it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely play video games.
It's a bad habit, don't pick it up. Oh wait, you play the wrestling game constantly, don't you?
Yeah, but that's like it.
That's content.
There you go.
No, I made a friend play through Life is Strange because I loved it so much.
It's one of those like, yeah, well, you'll get to the good part. Don't worry, I froze. Oh wait.
He was rolling on the floor in pain from how much he did that game.
Huh.
I mean, to be fair, you are an even bigger libtard cuck than me, so it's no wonder you would enjoy Life is Strange. Officially now, you can claim that title.
Oh god, that's all I've ever wanted.
Oh wow. They changed. Oh, that's neat. They changed the upload button to create.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, they must have done that like 5 minutes ago.
We're creators
Is
now.
that why my sub feed was broken? Because they were changing their upload button? Are you...
I think so.
Maybe, because it works
My
now.
feed was broken too.
That was well worth it, YouTube. Thank you. I'm very happy it says create instead of upload, and my sub feed was down for an hour in exchange for that.
See, the way to get around all of this sub-feed drama is just to never upload videos.
Hey,
That way people never complain that your stuff doesn't show up in their sub box.
There you go. No,
Hey.
perfect, what's it called?
Segue?
Segue into what we were actually supposed to be talking about today.
Yeah.
We spent
The process of creating video.
Yeah,
30
half the
fucking
podcast.
minutes on that argument.
That's actually a
Holy shit.
surprisingly short segue, like tangent argument for hallway chats.
Yeah.
That was pretty long. I thought it was gonna take like 10 minutes.
I could not let you go uncontested.
I know you couldn't.
Just like
You still haven't completely convinced me. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
at
it's
least
just
you
a
didn't
moral
publicly comment on his videos.
difference. At least I'm not that kind of scumbag, you know. God, he's gonna probably end up getting linked this whole fucking podcast, and he's gonna.
But of course.
Asshole. It's whatever. I'm used to being called an asshole. I'm nothing new. So, guys, this is a random question. How do you write, edit, and generally construct your content? Because this was definitely not a comment we received in our last video.
For the
random
news.
What a randomly specific question, Matt. Oh, you're welcome, guys. I came up with it all by myself. I didn't steal this from the comments section one bit.
Oh, cool. I didn't know we'd stolen it from the comments section. I thought you came up with it yourself.
No.
It's always good to know.
Who wants to go first?
I guess I can go first. So I think for me, the writing process is relatively variable. For seasonal shows, I'll just notice things as I watch them. And the two general ways things can happen are I sort of take notes on stuff of interest as I go along, and then I get to a point where I have sort of enough stuff to construct the idea I'm attempting to convey about the series. But there are some cases where sort of no note taking prior to this, I just get an idea and dive into the writing and just sort of go back and maybe reference episodes as I need to get confirmation on a thought I had. And most of my writing is pretty stream of consciousness. That's the sort of overarching stylistic element, I think. A lot of it is in one sitting, outside of the longest of projects or some of the more complicated research stuff, which takes sort of a break from writing to go reference outside information and the such. And then on those research projects, usually I just run into like an interesting piece of info. For the 3 Hertz video, it was, I looked at 3 Hertz's studio page and saw this stuff that they had produced and sort of the commonalities between them and the sort of narrative that made their production history thus far. And so went into looking up the information about them. I'd need to convey that narrative to an audience. And once I had all that gathered, just laid it out in script form. 3 Hertz was really fortuitous because I had a quote from the founder that I found near the end of my research that just basically said, yes, this thing you're saying is right. He just said, yeah, the purpose of the studio was to create original anime. Ah, thank you. Nice little capstone to my narrative. It's not always that easy and fortuitous. And then the other research project, the big one that I've got going right now, I was reading a Sakugaboru post, as you do, if you want that good info, and a name was mentioned offhand that just piqued my interest. So I went and dove into this extended sort of look into him and what his deal was, and he's a really fucking cool guy, so look forward to my coverage of him, because he has not been talked about anywhere in like the mainstream Western anime sphere. But he's a pretty pivotal figure, I think. I'm not sure if we want to go like to the writing of everyone else and then cycle back around to editing.
I guess we can all talk about our writing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Prevent me from dominating the convo for an uninterrupted 10-minute monologue.
I will say that your process sounded so much more efficient than mine. What generally will happen to me, like I also write stream of conscious, and so like if I can't finish what I'm writing in one sitting, it's very difficult for me to go back to that idea. So what'll often happen is, for example, I just posted a video 2 days ago. I'd written the script for that back in like December, but I didn't finish it. Like sometimes I will like check with another YouTuber. Like I check with Craftsdorf for that one because it's about Hunter x Hunter. So somebody who is familiar with the material and see like, hey, does my argument make sense here?
Yeah.
Few adjustments here and there. For that one in particular, I was just kind of struggling to figure out what my end point was with this, other than to just present the idea. Just kind of couldn't get back to it, and so it just sat there for a while. And that's kind of the narrative of a lot of my videos. Like I had another Hunter x Hunter video I released in December that I wrote back in like July, August, that like I had started writing it and I got all these notes for it, and then I just never put everything together because I would wouldn't be able to finish the project in one sitting, or I got sidetracked and wanted to make a video about something else. Because not all my projects are like that. It just seems like winter ones or like anything on shonen tends to get put off for a while. Like if I'm going to cover a seasonal anime, you talked about how sometimes you take notes as you go if something catches your attention. I did that because that sounds smart.
It took me a while to start taking notes because I think like the way I think and do stuff generally did not line up with note taking, the whole stream of consciousness ishness of it. But like just specifically, it started with editing. Like if I thought, oh, this is a cool bit of animation or like storyboarding or whatever, as I was watching the series, I just put down an episode number and a time code because that saved a bunch of editing time, and that got me into like the general habit of noting stuff, quotes, or like key thematic ideas and what have you.
Yeah, maybe after more time of doing this, I'll get into that habit. With me is like I'll go into a show, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make anything on this or not. I'm just gonna watch it,
and then you wish you had taken notes. Yeah, no, that's
then I'll get to like episode 10 and I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Now it's time to go back and rewatch all the shows and take notes. And
on your point of writing in one go, that's part of what often leads to me like putting off writing a script, because like I need to wait, or I feel like I need to wait until I'll have like this big chunk of uninterrupted time. So if like I've got like if I read over a script from Jeff, it's like, okay, I get you this audio later in the day. Like it's I'm not gonna really like start the writing because I might get the audio soon, and then like start on the editing for that and stuff. It's like, you know, and so. I do think like being able to write in shorter bursts and come back to it is an asset, but I think as a creator, you work around your weird like hang-ups that make you a less efficient creator, and you just you gotta find a way to make those work however you can.
Yeah, definitely, because I know like back when like if I would have a college class and I'm like, oh, that's in like 3 hours, I'm not gonna be able to bust out like a 3-page script in that time, because I'm also slow at writing most of the time. Probably if I would have work that day or whatever, I'd be like, how much time do I have? Can I get this done? And then I would stop myself from actually doing the thing. What else was I gonna say? But just on the idea of like scripts and like coming back to them later, I don't. Like, even if I feel like I'm not going to come back to a project, I still keep my scripts just because you never know, something might come up and then I'll want to go back to it. So, like, even though those Hunter x Hunter videos I was talking about were put off for several months, when I got back to them and, you know, finished everything off, I was pretty satisfied with how the product went. Knew that I had taken time away from it and, like, going back over what I'd written again and, you know, having sort of a new context to kind of spin this information. I feel like that has been beneficial, though it's not ideal. But yeah, that's me.
You're the most disciplined in your consistency of production of any of us, I'd say. Matt, how do you fit your writing into that tight and religiously kept schedule?
Well, actually, ironically enough, the whole reason I do this, I'm able to put out a fucking script a week, is because throughout my entire college career, all 4 years, I took a class each semester where you had to put out a review on not a review, but like basically an essay on a film. So I've shat out so
YouTube
many
101
fucking essays that by the senior year of my high school, I was like, yeah, I guess I can do 2 of these a week. One for a movie, one for
do one Marvel film analysis every week for a year.
God, dude, it was fucking awesome.
Your hair falls out.
You know, it was funny. I hated fucking doing it, and now I've made it my fucking job. I don't know why, but no. My writing process usually is I have a whole set of ideas I want to pull out. Like, I have a whole list, and then I only pull from that list if I don't have an idea that's not like being.
Oh yeah.
So like if I see something, I'm like, oh, I got like like what was it? What was the fucking video I just recently did it that was just like I had like a brain blast, like because I had another video planned.
The one that released after the Death March video.
No, it was a Yuru Camp and Simplicity.
Yeah.
That was one of those videos where I hadn't planned it. I had another video planned for that week, and then when I watched Yuru Camp, I was like, "Fuck that! I'm making a video on Yuru Camp." So I wrote a script on that. I think it was actually supposed to be my suspense and anime video, but then I just pushed that back a week. And that's kind of how I work. Is that I write scripts. I don't have I can write half a script and then like go do something, come back and finish the other half. It's never really a problem for me. And I just have to make sure I read through it a couple of times to make sure I knew where I was going with the script, and then like like I always have a final destination. Luckily, it's just often getting there that's the hard part, and making a convincing argument between it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think my script writing process is great. It's definitely not great in my opinion. Actually, most of my comedy videos I pull and help from a friend who still lives in Louisiana right now. Who's I don't want to say funnier than me because he'll never let me live that down. But he's got a really good sense of like randomness to him, where he can just throw a fuckload of ideas out onto like a wall, and then I can pick which ones I like the most and then run with those.
Yeah.
He's really good at that kind of stuff. So he helped me.
He's a good writer's room, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. He helped me write the anime protagonist survival guide and all the other stuff. All the other creative.
Hey, Manime, did you watch Jeff's anime PSA for that one?
Shoot, man. Oh my god. I just want to choke some people. And I think the only reason I'm so salty about it is because I dropped so much fucking time into that video. Like, I know it's only 4 minutes, but I probably dropped 40 plus hours into editing that fucking video.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh yeah, really heavily inspired by Mother's Basement. Bro. Like, okay,
you can't catch a break. Our poor anime here.
Dude, I was fucking so tilted. Because here's the thing: if someone had said, some people have said, it's like, oh, otaku versus, that's different.
That's a comparison I'm proud to receive.
Yeah. No, I'm proud to receive Jeff's thing, because Jeff's was fantastically edited after I watched it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch till after I'd gotten all the fucking comments. But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you know, Jeff does not have a monopoly on the creative side of the anime sphere. Okay, guys?
No, for sure.
It
was
Otaku Versus is the guy who I mostly stole from, but he's okay with it.
I think like the presentation visually wasn't too reminiscent of Jeff's. It's more so the concept and like the writing and joke execution, specifically his first one, the guide to survive being a harem protagonist, because the whole thing was riffing on, if you're a protagonist, blah blah blah, and your thing was like how to know if you're an anime protagonist. So it's like, if blah blah blah, you might be a protagonist. Like that was the one I think that had the most reminiscence of a Jeff video.
I've never watched that video.
You watched the Magical Girl one?
My fault.
Yeah.
I thought everyone's talking about the Magical Girl one. Okay, well that one makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, if people were actually talking about that video, I'd take back my meme.
Okay.
I didn't realize Jeff had a video with nearly the same title.
Yeah.
Granted, I do want to put out just as a comparison, Super Eye Patch Wolf made a video called Redline is Awesome. And I have a video named Redline is Awesome.
I mean, that's just the obvious thesis.
And that was just a case of like you know, just saying.
No, I feel your pain. Earlier on, especially, I had like times where I released a video, and then did you release like the same video the next day?
School anime?
Or did you release a video the same day I finished writing a script with that same thesis? Like, we were mentally synced for a little bit. It was very amusing. And then he stopped making main channel videos.
Congratulations. And that's when you pass them up.
And then I stopped making main channel videos. Oh.
It runs in the family.
Yeah, I
I
guess so.
stopped making main channel videos before.
When did you ever start?
Yeah, that's to say. You have to have more than 10 videos before you
10
can
of my
fucking
videos, I
stop.
put them out once every 2 weeks. Then I came back to the United States, got super depressed, and stopped.
Yeah. So, how about your video making process, Brian?
Yeah,
I go back to
so
the United States, and I get depressed, and I stop making videos.
Do you even have? No, of course. I think you've actually talked about your process. Continue. I think it's neat.
Probably, I don't know. So basically what I do is I watch an anime, and if I like it, then there will usually be one specific thing that like sparks my interest, and I think like, okay, I can make a video about that. People would want to watch that, and I'm interested in that, so let's work on a script. So what I do, I try to watch an anime 3 times before I make a video from it. First is just my initial watching, which is where I just watch it. Second is I go through with a specific idea in mind, and I take all my notes on that. Then I write my script, and I go back and I watch it a 3rd time to make sure like everything's copacetic. But while I'm going through the note-taking phase, I take notes on like every little thing that could potentially be relevant to either this video or a video in the future. Like you can go on my Patreon, and you'll see that I have like 35 or 40 pages of notes of basically everything I've taken.
Patreon.com/exclamation point. That's patreon.com/exclamation point. Great tiers here. Come on, come on.
That is patreon.com/the Pedantic Romantic. But yeah, I take tons of notes, and then I sit down and I just kind of start writing. Like this is the worst way to write anything, but I always start with my opening line. And I think of like, okay, what's the best joke that I could possibly make in regards to this argument? Make that joke, and I let that be the tone for the rest of the video. And as much as I want to say like, oh, then I read and reread the script and I write it 6 or 7 more times and then I put it on. No, by that point, the video is 3 weeks late and I record it and I start editing.
The opening line is always the sort of big one for me. I'll hesitate and ruminate on that one, really the opening paragraph for a long while, and then once I get that down, usually the like nature of how I construct my thesis is, and that stream of consciousness writing is that once I've framed how I'm going to present these ideas in that opening, the floodgates are open, and the rest of the script just sort of tumbles out of me. With a relatively frequent hesitation once again over the closing as I figure out how to wrap that all up.
See, one thing that I noticed about my videos is that I feel like they don't end particularly well. Like the last line is usually really good, but the quote-unquote conclusion paragraph is just more argument.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I need to work on that for sure.
And I guess that would bring us, well, I guess script editing before we get to the video editing, because you went over that. There is little to none. And I am fairly similar. I will go back through because and like read it aloud to sort of practice for the recording of the audio, and so I'll notice stuff in there. And on some of the scripts, I'll go back through and check for things I wasn't sure on. But most of the time, even when I'm going back through them, little ends up getting changed. And I just think I never picked up on getting used to editing my stuff because I was such a procrastinator in school that I was writing that stuff the day before or the day of, and thus editing never came into the picture for me. I mean, it's a weakness, I will admit, but one I think I'm so used to accounting for that I don't suffer a ton from it most of the time.
Yeah, I guess as I kind of most like I guess as far as script editing is concerned, I'm mostly I guess in my previous explanation. However, sometimes I will go through it and I'll just like I will go through and maybe underline certain words that I want to put extra emphasis on, or sometimes I just do that out of habit in the initial scripting. But I talked about mine.
I'm weird. So I have two ways. If I have enough time, I'll edit, like I'll go through and edit the entire script. And like I think those are my better videos because like I'll sit back, rethink my arguments, then go through them a second time, then find a better way of presenting them. Like I think my citrus video is an example of that. I had a ton of time to edit that video. I had a whole extra day to work on that script, which is super rare. And so I actually like really worked it out and had a pretty solid script for the video itself. But usually what I do, which is not a good thing, but I do it anyway, is I'll edit the script while recording audio.
Yeah, no, that's happens for me.
Yeah.
The thing
That's about it.
I do relatively often do script editing wise is I'll have phrases that I'm not a fan of as I'm writing it, but because it's so stream of consciousness, like I just leave them be and sort of power through it to get the rest of the ideas out, and then I will go back and revisit those and see if I can sort of punch up those phrasings that I wasn't a fan of and find a better way of putting it. In recent months, there was this focus for me of like really working to create evocative phrases. So just to have like writing that is in and of itself good, sort of even like removed from the greater ideas on this given piece of media that they're necessarily conveying. And so I like to sort of inject those throughout the script. Moving on to I guess if we're going chronologically, the recording of audio. Does everyone want to go over that?
I do record audio, yes.
Same.
I have a microphone. They're really good.
I must say that I just absolutely love the whole recording audio session because, like, while I was at college, I didn't have as much of an issue because any things to trigger my allergies while I was there. But upon coming back home, I find that, like, generally it would take me about 10 minutes. It probably takes me like 20 minutes to record the audio because I'll do double takes, or I'll not, like, I'll be reading a script and maybe the sentence is too long and I like forget to breathe, and then it's like, okay, I need to take a pause somewhere in here and, you know, break it up. But now I also have to consider that sometimes I'm having like issues, so I will not only be struggling to find the right delivery, but also my nose will be clogged, and then it's like, well, that sounds like garbage. I gotta do that again. So now it takes anywhere from like 2 to 3 times the length of the video to like get everything down, because I'll be like, oh, that delivery was good, but I sounded like garbage, so I gotta do it again. But that's probably the most noteworthy thing.
Like, for me, the audio recording process, I feel like it's pretty standard.
Oh.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
Point of audio delivery. I have been playing around with my voice just a tad, and it's fun to see the comments noticing them. I get a handful, a nice little handful of comments every time, appreciating the stuff I'm doing vocally, so that's fun.
Yeah. I feel like the audio process for me is fairly standard. I speak into a microphone, record with Audacity. But I do go in and take out basically every breath in my video. So you'll notice that there's like no space between sentences. And it's because my videos are just kind of insanely long by AniTuber standards anyway.
And also the like the quick-paced breathlessness definitely complements your style, even more so than it does mine, in spite of the fact that I also do that style of breath editing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a comedic timing thing. Just can't have those pauses.
Yeah.
Then one thing that I'm getting better at, I feel like the audio for my new video that exists just sounds really good compared to the rest of my videos. But yeah, I'm learning how to do audio editing. It shows that I'm learning
Yeah.
in my videos because everything sounds like it's underwater and garbled.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to run it through a compressor, which is what I was really bad at. So now I just equalize it, and it's really much better now.
Oh, trust me, I did the exact same thing. There was a period where I was always like, okay, we gotta boost like the bass in my voice, and we also gotta compress it and everything. And it's looking back, it's like, oh, that sounds terrible. Why was I doing this for years on my other channel? This was a mistake.
There's only like 1 or 2 videos of mine that I went too far with the compression on. I still do compress. I guess I just do it with enough reservation that it doesn't ruin the audio.
Yeah, I've made the mistake too. Some of my older videos, I when I was just learning how to edit audio, it was just like, it sounds so bad. It sounds like I'm a fucking robot.
Oh, my real early videos are atrocious because they were recorded on like a netbook webcam like thing.
Oh yeah. No, my first few videos were recorded on my tablet microphone.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, as for me for audio, I think it's my second most hated part of the process. My most hated part of the process is editing my audio. It takes me like 30-40 minutes because I'll go through and fuck up like every line, and I have to redo every line like 2 to 3 times before I feel like I'm confident in it, and then I keep moving on.
The audio editing is like relatively time consuming for how relatively mindless it is. Definitely was not a big fan early on, but I've gotten used to it, and it is like a nice little relaxing sort of zone out, zen out thing that I don't mind too much at this stage.
See, I have to heavily focus because I'm just sitting there kind of like, all right, which take is better? I have like 5 takes of the same sentence, and it's like
that's the best.
Also, because it's like the quickest thing in the process to complete usually, it's nice in that regard because like the steps, have to write the script, okay, script's written, have to record the audio, okay, that's recorded, have to edit the audio, okay, that's edited, have to edit the video. And like the recording and editing of audio are the shortest, so like it's the easiest step to get that gratification of, okay, 1 step down or 1 less to go. Relatively little work to get that little boost of happy chemicals in your brain. So I like it in that regard.
Yeah, it definitely is the easiest step because when you're writing, you gotta think like, okay, I gotta have ideas, I gotta have points here, and then when you're editing, it's like, okay, I gotta emphasize these points with good visuals. But audio is just like, read the thing.
I don't know. I really like the note-taking aspect of it as like a quick, like dopamine-infused session of work.
I sort of don't like mentally compartmentalize that as a step, so I don't get that same rush. But on the other hand, your rewatching of anime and note-taking for it is also more extensive than my own, which is just noting down a thing if I see it in my natural course of my regular watch of the show, so it is more deserving of that sense of accomplishment on your part.
Well, I mean, plus I just get to rewatch an anime that I obviously like to begin with, and like feel smart doing it because I'm taking tons of notes.
So editing.
Yeah.
Good job.
That's fucking fantastic. I'm sorry. I haven't slept much. I edit my videos on Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects.
I edit in good old, reliable old, steady old Sony Vegas Pro.
It's
Same.
the best.
Do all 3 of you use Sony Vegas?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's surprising.
I just
hate
like
Sony Vegas.
I
It's a
can't
program.
the like Adobe interface timeline scares me, and I don't like the look of it. It's too smooth and homogenized. It's gross and alien to me. And also,
Like
Sony Vegas 14 like shifts way more in that direction aesthetically, and I hate it, and I'm scared because like that's where the world's going. I'm gonna be outdated soon. I'm gonna cling to my 10-year-old Vegas Pro 13 in 2030 because I need it. I can't take this Apple ass, smooth ass, rounded, geometric ass bullshit in my timeline. I can't do it. I'm scared.
I'm surprised all three of you use Sony Vegas. It's a good program though. I used to use it in high school. It was nice. I'm guessing all three of you also pirate Sony Vegas and don't actually pay for it.
No comment.
Because that's the thing. You can't pirate a Premiere anymore. They fucking blocked all that shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's
As of how long ago can you not pirate Premiere?
about 2 years.
I'd beg to differ.
Oh, you were able to pirate Premiere? Well, if so, they made it significantly harder than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Now it's just the thing for me. Now it's easy to pay for it because I was a college student, so I just pay like the $20 a month and I get all the programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, as for like the editing process for me is I have like extremely keen file structure. Like I have an entire database with anime in it. I have structure for all my PNGs I've created over the years.
Yeah.
All of my effects, all my visuals, all my presets I have set up. So the editing process for me does still take a while, but for the quality I'm able to pump out for the video, not nearly as long as it should.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of one of those things where I've got it really kind of down to a science for the most part, and I'm able to like a video like whatchamacallit, like my mediocrity video, I'm able to edit together just the visuals in like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Oh, pretty good.
But that's only because my file structure is just so keen. It's slick.
Yeah, dude,
How long was that video? Like 5.5?
Yeah, 5.5, 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like your style though, because it is like long that you've got your routine down, but it is distinct enough. Whereas like with me,
Oh yeah, you always know you're watching an anime Matt video. Like as much as you talk about and do draw from Otaku versus like your set of aesthetics is distinct enough from him that even if the style of the editing is similar, the result is still unmistakably yours.
Well, thanks to him. I mean, honestly, I don't talk to Yusuf very much anymore, but he really helped me develop my style because I had a crisis about 7-8 months ago where my style was so, like, in my opinion, generic, and then I'm generic, and then I wasn't especially good. So I was like, I need to find a way to like make myself different, and so I went to him first, and I was like, can you help me? And he gave me some pointers, some advice on what to do on how to develop a style, and thanks to him, I developed that style. It went through a few iterations, but this is I think not the final iteration, but getting pretty close to it.
I associate that with you for sure.
Oh, what, the music?
Yeah, it's like your song.
Hey,
Let's go
Alex.
next.
hello. So yeah, think style that you've been working on for a while. Whereas before, I was so used to creating a completely different style of content that I will be the first to admit that my editing style is pretty generic. Like even now that, like the most I do now is I got music, and I think I've gotten pretty okay at integrating music into my videos. But trying to play around with some things with the visuals, trying to learn different techniques because I've picked up a few over the years, but just a matter of figuring out like how can I integrate this into the video beyond just extra, so it's not just using anime clips. But I have a problem with that style either. Just kind of using clips from anime, so maybe I have less of an incentive to try to improve my style and make it more distinct. Just because I don't really like when other people just kind of do that style. I don't with it, but
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that style either. It's just that for people who edit in that style, like you and Pedro, it's just usually something that I put on in the background while I'm doing something else.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
And especially
I
like,
was gonna say the same thing.
and especially because like it's a style that a lot of people use. It's much less distinct. So I wouldn't necessarily think that like if somebody videos, it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely a Math Whiz video based on just like the editing alone.
Mm. No, like I feel like I probably got the most to say about video editing among all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So my process is probably not as efficient as it could be, but what I do is I have several templates set up in GIMP, and I have several folders set up on Google Drive that are labeled with the names of different anime where I keep all the pictures that I've cut out. And basically I just make my frames one at a time in GIMP and then throw them into Sony Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You don't even know.
Oh, for the organization system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you.
No, like, if we had video on this podcast, then I would show you the extensive system of folders that I have set up between my computers. But I guess it's not complicated, it's just really slow.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's mostly image editing for me, obviously. Yeah, I'll just put on the Worm audiobook and cut out all the pictures I need and yeah, throw them into Vegas and then we're done.
Yeah.
I will
For
say
me,
that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, I will say, Brian, that I love your style, but I do not envy you because I think I would go insane trying to do what you do. Just because, like, I can't stand image editing, so.
Well, I really like image editing. It's just when you have to do so much of it, and so much of it is just removing backgrounds. Like, I started doing it on my tablet again because, like, I lost my stylus in an airport. It's a story. But I got a new stylus recently, and it's slightly less efficient than doing it with, like, the loop select tool in GIMP. The free select tool, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's so much, like, more fun that it makes up for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like an artist, a kindergartner. Kindergartist. Just with a little crayon erasing other people's work. It's great.
I am a big fan of doing like, cool editing things when such concepts come up for me. So one of them was the scene from the end of TV Evangelion, where it's Shinji's like outline, and it's all those scenes flashing within it from the show. I went into my trusty old GIMP, took that frame. Oh no, I must have done that in Vegas because I think like the background does like subtly like shift around behind Shinji, so I wanted that to stay. So in Sony Vegas, I masked out Shinji's outline so I could play footage from the show behind it. That might have been the Silent Voice video, and so then I had to get like 30 scenes from whatever the show was. Oh no, it was Sakura Quest. That's what I did it for. I had to get like 30 scenes from Sakura Quest so I could cycle through them like 2 a second or whatever the rate was. I ended up going a slightly slower rate of frames than the Eva one, but still enough that like it looked like the effect. My initial time I did it, I didn't have enough frames and like real janky and bad, so I threw a bunch more in there.
And how long did that take?
It was probably like 2 to 3 hours. This is a super rough estimate. Probably not many. Yeah, I know. Like especially early on, I think, because I was even less adept at doing them, and part of the process was just figuring out how to execute these ideas I had. I would spend many hours on edits that were not worth that time, but I just like I like doing it. It's cool.
The first time I ever did an animation in my videos was the first Watamote video. Like, I had never done any kind of animation before, and I barely knew how to use GIMP. So I was just like, I'm gonna just make each of these frames individually, just move this little Tomoko one bit at a time across the screen, doing stop motion animation with this picture. And I don't know. It took probably 5 hours to finish
Yeah.
for a section of the video that takes up like 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, it's always they always last so little time. That's
And it only takes up 10 seconds because I stretched it longer.
Yeah, I've done that too. Gotta get there was one that I used twice just because, like, I gotta get my money's worth with this one.
Uh-huh. And, like, one thing that this isn't quite video editing. I guess it would go in the audio editing section, but my songs, like, the reprise of "Fuck You, Victor Entertainment" in my MMO Junkie video. I should say my first one because I'm about to put out another one. But nobody's mentioned how that was done to an acoustic rendition of the MMO Junkie OP.
Oh my! I even noticed. I'm sorry.
I mean, I get that people notice these things and that I'm being a crybaby because nobody like puts it in the comments. But still, I'm like, aw, I was proud of that.
But occasional flashy edits aside, certainly the big thing for me is editing more like in the filmic sense, in terms of having my sort of continuity of anime footage, which is, you know, the bulk of my videos, certainly, flow into each other well. Each shot kind of correspond with each other in a manner that's subtly, aesthetically, and experientially pleasing. And especially as I've taken on this extra editing for Jeff in recent months, I feel like I've gotten pretty solid at having some of just like the best core fundamental editing that's out there. Like, I've got an eye for it now, and I watch other videos and I go, ooh.
And that's how we. Oh yeah, and then I guess the upload process. You guys do anything special with your uploads or no?
No.
I usually just release them right when they're finished, unless it's like really late. Because like maybe that's a bad time to upload. No one really knows, and so I'll wait until the next day to upload them at that point.
I do recommend uploading them as scheduled videos and then just waiting like 20 minutes before publishing them, because YouTube will just release it the second it's done processing.
But it won't actually be fully processed, so like it won't be the full quality.
So your most hardcore subscribers are going to click on it instantly, or watching it in like 24p.
I don't think, because like you hit upload and then it's uploading, and then bar for progress to that, and then processing. But then there's that blue like publish button. So I think it doesn't go live until then, and usually it will like have finished processing and just be sitting there for a little bit until I notice.
Okay, well, I don't know if that's changed. It used to be that way, like 5 years ago. My old channel, it would just instantly upload the second it was done, and then people.
You can like hit that publish button whenever, even as it's still uploading and processing, and that will make it go live the instant those are done, and give you that like 360p only option. But as long as you just leave that alone and wait to get back to it, you're good as well.
Gotcha. And then I do I advertise on Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr. That's it. I used to go into Gobiano. Gobiano used to have a public feature which you could submit to, and then they would either approve or deny your content. And they used to approve my content all the time, and then just out of nowhere, one day they denied like something, and then after that they've denied.
Oh no!
And I look at it, I'm like, okay, well maybe they just like maybe I pissed them off or something. And I looked at it, and now it's all staff. They don't put any public stuff up anymore, which is like, oh, that sucks.
I link it on Twitter. I toss it into my Discord. I've got like a little channel that's about my content, so it goes there. I link it on Patreon. Like, hey, video's up. And then I think that's it. Yeah, I just sit there watching and responding to the initial few hours of comments usually.
Yeah, same deal here. I mean, I just throw it up on YouTube, then Patreon, Twitter. I used to post to Reddit a lot, but I don't anymore. Other people do that now. I think that's it.
Good.
Yeah, I on the topic of like watching the comments, I've learned that like I can't sit there and watch the comments for like the first up, I need to get away because otherwise I'll see comments and I'm like,
Yeah.
I get too self-conscious about my video and I'm like, somebody left a tiny little comment
Mhm.
that was like negative, and I'm like, somebody positive comment, please, something.
And then
I like to be active in
person
there,
comments.
replying to people and the such. And I think that like builds a better comment atmosphere. Like if they see you interacting and they're like, oh, like she might interact with me if I'm like a cool, good commenter. I think all those replies and hearts and stuff in the comments as someone's looking at them probably does at least a bit to make them a better, happier place.
Well, yeah, I definitely do like read and reply to comments. I just can't do it immediately.
Mhm.
'Cause that's not good for my mental health.
Fair.
Yeah, entirely understandable.
I've gotten to the point where I refuse to post on r/anime. I have a very strong hatred towards that website.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of gave up with Reddit too, because like
I think they're dum-dums quite a lot of the time, but I'll go over there and check to see when my video is posted and respond to comments on there too on it, usually.
I mean, I always put a comment whenever I see my videos posted, like, hey, that's me. And
Yeah. I mean, I think your
Interact
stuff is
with me,
probably relatively Reddit core, so I think, do pretty well in there, I would imagine.
I usually do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because of Reddit that I have this job in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So.
They appreciate the comedy stuff.
yeah, I think
And also you're a giant normie who's seen like 15 shows, so of course
Hell
he was in
yeah.
there with Reddit.
This is why people call you a liberal cuck. You got that elitist attitude down to its feet.
God bless. All right. Well, I think. Oh my God, we went way over time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Are
feel
we
like this
late
was a
for
meteor
class?
show.
Super late. We've missed class. Class is out.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
time
God,
to head over
Lachlan,
to
you have
our
to get to
after school clubs. I'm gonna head over to the Trans Culture Club.
There you go.
That's in this universe, by the way. We're putting that part of the meta narrative.
Gosh.
Breaking up with all.
That is going to be the topic for the next video. It's the fucking meta narrative that we have created with this podcast.
Yeah.
Because it has turned into something insane, and I love it.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
For next hallway chat session.
For next hallways.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Manime Matt.
Explanation point.
Pedantic Romantic.
and Math Whiz.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.